Good day, everyone. I'm Joanna Camacho.
And I'm Juanito Solis. We are pleased to be your hosts for today. A big good afternoon to all of you. We offer a warm welcome to you all today for our launching exhibit entitled EUNOIA, an online art festival. Before we start, may we call on Sonata Rufin to lead our opening prayer.
Let us all remember that we are in the holy presence of God. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, thus another day has passed, where we are all awake and alive, and fighting in spite of difficulties. Thank you for giving us this determination to move forward, as well as the blessings of letting us and our loved ones wake up for another day. Thank you for giving all of us this opportunity to showcase the specialties of our peers and participants. All of our hard work turning into an admirable form of inspiration that can help other people. We hope that through this presentation, everyone will be able to be more comfortable with their surroundings and themselves and be able to become stronger in spite of the challenges we face. Our Lasallian prayer: I will continue, O my God, to do all my actions for the love of you. Saint John Baptist de La Salle, pray for us.
Pray for us
Live justice in our hearts forever.
forever.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Sonata, for that wonderful prayer. First of all, let me ask you something. Are you guys excited? Because I am. How about you, Juanito?
I'm surely excited as you are as we are about to witness the Arts and Design Batch 2022 Capstone Project culminating activity. But first, what is EUNOIA all about?
EUNOIA is an online art festival containing different capstone projects that focus on aspiring students' mental health.
Before we start, we would like to thank the following sponsors: Philippine Pediatric Society Southern Developed Chapter, Medica Floator Technology Corporation, Teodoro Construction Corporation, Mega Systems Corporation, Holly's Milk, Lustans, Mechanical Unlimited Resources and Training Corporation. Thank you also to the High School SRCC for partnering with us for our event.
Now, let us all welcome Mr. Joshua Ben Villarreal, the Arts and Design Strand Coordinator, for the opening remarks.
It has now been 2 years since we are hit with the COVID-19 pandemic. In the Philippines, 37% of Filipinos would say that their lives completely changed in so many ways because of this, especially in terms of family life and lifestyle. This is in addition to the stress and risk it embeds the health of the people in the community. Today, I am privileged to welcome you to an event called EUNOIA, an online art festival which will not only showcase the artistic minds and hands of our dear Lasallian students, but more so, share their arts to make an impact for a greater cause. And that is to use art to aid individuals in their struggles during this pandemic. EUNOIA is a Greek originated term which means to extend help or feeling of goodwill. On that note, may all of us be captivated by the beauty of art as a form of expression and creativity, as well as a way to connect to people and, more importantly, make a positive difference in others. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Thank you, Sir Josh, for the heartwarming opening remarks. Now, without further ado, it's time to start EUNOIA.
Last March 12 and 19, Creative Arts conducted a webinar to show that a person's heart could express itself creatively. The gist of the activities allows its participants the freedom to be as creative as they want in order to express themselves. To know more about this successful capstone implementation event, here is Kayla Oray, the capstone internal director of Creative Arts, to introduce and present their documentary.
The documentary revolves around some of the highlights of our 2-day Creative Arts art webinar for mental health, with Bravens as our participants. Also, with the accompaniment of talented speakers, Ms. Angelica Visceral, the current chairperson of the Design Foundation Department, School of Design and Arts, De La Salle College of St. Benilde, and Ms. Roxanne Paragison Asuke, who was a former A&D teacher of our school, with a background in BA Psychology. cum laude at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and is currently studying MA Art Education, who share their knowledge and expertise around mental health and arts. With just a few words of wisdom and free roam of the mind, one can combine a strengthening sense of self-worth with wild imagination and creativity. So sit back and relax as you watch our short video documentary. Enjoy!
Creative Hearts. The Creative Hearts webinar is a series of talks about mental health. Moreover, the webinar lasted for 2 weeks with one session per week, March 12 and 19, 2022.
Good afternoon to everyone, ladies and gents. My name is Helena Bersamin.
And my name is Eliana Manuel. We will be your MCs for today, and we welcome you to our own capstone project entitled Creative Hearts Webinar.
So she was a co-faculty also in Binyog. So thank you again for this opportunity to share my advocacy, my experience, and my research.
We were so happy and grateful for meeting Miss Angge and for lending her time during March 12 to be our guest speaker. These were the activities we did that day.
Help. Thank you pala for inviting me. I was invited through Miss Jean, the teacher na ba siya?
And that concluded day 1 of our webinar.
We had the session last Saturday, March 12, and now are moving on to our labs.
So we will now introduce to you our speaker for today.
Also a mompreneur and a freelance graphic designer and illustrator with NC3 in visual graphic design. Let's give it up for Miss Iko Paragisan Asante.
So it's not really very easy to talk about it or to have it as a center or a core of a study. And so you really have to be trained in it in order for you to be able to discuss it well and to make studies on it. So creating art can help you acknowledge and recognize the feelings and thoughts that you have lurking in your subconscious.
And for the art making portion, she made us do scribbling art. They are also not required to have an artistic background to join the webinar and would not be criticized or judged for their artworks. And just like with Miss Angge, we are very grateful for Miss Iko for lending her time in our webinar.
Grabe, great work everyone. Ang gaganda ng gawa natin. So, moving on, that concludes day 2 of Creative Hearts. Yay! Thank you so much everyone for taking time out of your day and supporting our online webinar. Especially for Miss Iko for giving a very wonderful and very insightful talk and art activity. Yan.
So again, the Creative Hearts webinar is all about managing mental health through creative expression that can potentially help participants recognize themselves or their feelings much better. We are beyond grateful for our participants and for our guest speakers because without them, this webinar wouldn't be possible. This was such a memorable experience and I'm glad that everybody enjoyed.
Thank you, Kyla and Creative Hearts, for the informative video documentary. I love how we get to know more about our mental health. Though we missed this webinar, which looked fun and exciting. What about you, Juanito?
I agree. I think the Creative Arts webinar was a success. The presentation had clean and chill vibes. It was really relaxing to listen through their talk. Great job to the Creative Arts. I wish I was there to witness it all. But now I'm actually curious to know more about their webinar. So So I'll be asking questions to Aliana Manuel, the Capstone External Director of Creative Arts. So, for the first question, can you tell us a brief description of your capstone project?
Okay, so Creative Hearts is a two-day webinar, online webinar, which aims to tackle like the different mental health issues that, of course, us teens, not even us, but like everyone around us, that is going through right now during the pandemic. And of course, we wanted to see if the usage or utilization of art would have a great benefit to improve what we feel, especially during this time of the pandemic. And that's the main goal of Creative Hearts, to see if art would really play a big role in the improvement of one's mental health.
I see. Well, personally for me, I think art has really been like a very excellent hobby and skill to have. Like, it really just kept me busy throughout this pandemic, and I'm sure it has like for all of us here since we're all under the arts and science channel. Okay, for the next question, what do you want the audience to know or take from your capstone project?
Of course, I can speak for like on behalf of my group. Really want the audience to really consider that there's like healthy ways to cope with what you're going through. And for this instance, it's art. So as you can see from the video a while ago, we really ask help from people who are professionals on how to properly cope with what we go through, such as stress, anxiety, and the likes. And it really helps us like easily put out what we really feel and what we want to deliver to the people around us.
See, that's pretty good, I think. Like I said earlier, I think your webinar was a success, and I think you managed to like, get that through to your audience. All right. For the next question, what was the most difficult part of your capstone project that took some time to accomplish?
I think the most difficult part for a capstone was to actually find a speaker who was available, like on the same dates as ours and the participants. But at the end of the day, we actually found people naman who's like really willing to help us for the event and project proper. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that must have been very stressful. But I'm really glad I went through. All right, for the next question, was the success of your webinar how you pictured it from the start?
For me, I think it was more than what we pictured it to be. Like, it was more successful than we expected it to be. And it really made most of us happy because, of course, coming into this project, really want the best to happen. And it did happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can tell, like, you look very happy there. And of course, I'm glad things got pretty good. All right, for our last question, did you change any of the initial ideas you had for the project?
Yeah, of course. Like, I mentioned a while ago that it was kind of hard for us to find like speakers that are available on the same dates. So we needed to adjust for them. So we had the change of dates, but it's all good now. So yes.
Okay, good. Thanks for your time in answering these questions.
Thank you for those answers, Iya. Self-worth and mental health truly is important. If you didn't know, EUNOIA is another capstone project too, wherein all of the different capstone projects are combined into one. We aim to host an event dedicated to celebrating the arts by aiding the aspiring students with their struggles during these times of the pandemic through arts. As part of this event, the next segment of EUNOIA is an inspirational talk by Reb Atadero, who is an all-around performer. He is an actor, singer, host, voice actor, director, and content creator. He is a PhilStage Gawad Buhay nominee for Best Lead Actor in a musical in 2018 for playing the role of young Hector Samala in the smash hit Ang Huling El Bimbo. With theaters being closed since the beginning of the pandemic, he has shifted his focus on content creation, podcasting, and live streaming across different social media platforms such as TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Give it up to our speaker.
Hello, everyone. How are you? My name is Reba Tadero. Is it okay if I ask you guys to turn on your cameras? Is that okay? Is that okay? Because it'll be nice to actually see your lovely faces this afternoon. There you go. You all look so good. You
Hello,
shouldn't be
sir.
shy about that. There you go. There you go. Thank you very much for turning on your cameras. Hello, everyone. How are you doing this afternoon? Everybody doing well? Give me a thumbs up if everybody's doing okay. Give me a thumbs down if you're feeling sad or something like that. That's okay too. That's acceptable. Oh yeah? Okay, cool. Now, my name is Reb Atadero. I am an actor, like they said a while ago, like Joanna said. Thank you very much, Joanna, for that. I'm an actor when there's no pandemic. I'm a host, a voice actor, a content creator, and a podcaster. Now, I have a question for everybody here. Who here wants to be an artist? Who wants to be an artist? If you want to be an artist, raise your hand. If you don't want to be an artist, it's fine. Who here wants to be an artist? It's not just performing arts, huh? Like it can be anything, right? It can be drawing, illustration. Yeah. There you go. I can see people who are, creatives and stuff like that. That's great. Now, who already considers themselves as artists? Okay, good. I can see one person raising her hand. Okay. All right. Do we have one person? That's okay. Cool. Only one person's raising their hand. Okay. Hopefully by the end of this, there'll be more hands raised. Okay. Now, what would you like to do? Who wants to perform? Raise your hands if you want to go towards the performing route. Okay, that's fine. If you don't want to, totally fine. Drawing and illustration. Who wants to do something like that? There we go. We have people raising their hands. Awesome. How about design? How about design? There you go. I can see somebody raising their hands. Okay, awesome. And again, to those of you who haven't turned on their cameras yet, please do so. It will be quite lovely if you can. All right. So today, I'm going to talk to you uh, as artists. I'm going to talk to you about being an artist, but it's not going to be about you. And it's not going to be about me. I'm here to extend help and hopefully to give comfort. EUNOIA. So from that long intro I gave you, I said I'm an actor, but really I do prefer to think of myself because the common thread out of all those jobs that I do, the common thread is I'm a storyteller. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you a story. March 8th, 2020. That was a Sunday. I walk into the RCBC building in Makati. I was feeling anxious, I was feeling nervous, and I was excited because I was preparing myself mentally for the week that I had, right? A security guard inspects my bag, and another one is all of a sudden taking my temperature. I've never experienced that before. Like, why is this person taking my temperature? I'm like, okay, I want to skip ahead 8 days, right? I do. I really do. But because by then I would have opened the show that I'm doing, right? And I'd be assimilating back into society. Since there would be no more rehearsals, that would occupy my weekdays. It's a trademark of what we call Tech Week. Tech Week is when, for example, a musical. Tech Week is when you put together the show with lights and sounds. So it takes forever. We start, for example, at like 2 p.m. and we end at GKW. We call it GKW. That means God knows when, right? Because the hours are crazy. Sometimes we put in 12, sometimes we put in 10 hours of work. This was for a production called The Band's Visit. It was under Atlantis Productions. That was in 2020. All right. 4 days later, March 12, 2020, that's a Thursday. It was preview night, which means we were going to be having our first audience. Muntik na kaming hindi matuloy. Thankfully, pinayagan kami ng building and we finished the performance and we took a bow. They all seemed to love it, which is great. There was a company call after the show, but the director looked sad. I was like, I thought we did a great job. Why are you sad? What's happening, right? He says that we do have a great show and that he was proud of everybody, but he turns to another person to make an announcement. He asks the person, okay, go ahead, you can say something now. And he said, we have a show tomorrow and on Saturday, but unfortunately, that's it. We have to cancel the rest of the performances. right? And I could not comprehend that. Never in my career have I experienced something like that. So the day after, March 13, 2020, Friday, that was our opening night. That was our first paying audience. And as I perform my solo spot, I can't help but notice how everyone in the audience is one seat apart. Like, what? Is it an exam? Why are people one seat apart? It's crazy. I never would have ever imagined that in my life. But then again, we finished the show and there was a standing ovation. Fantastic. March 14, 2020, the day after Saturday, that was our closing night. Last paying audience, we took a bow, we say thank you to everyone who came to watch, and then the next thing I remember is I was crying on the way home. Right. I did not know when the next performance was gonna be. I don't know how long this lockdown is gonna be, right? And I don't know when the pandemic will end. Finally, March 15, 2020, that's a Sunday. Metro Manila goes on total lockdown. It has been more than 2 years without any live performances. The entertainment industry has taken a major hit. It has been greatly affected by the pandemic. Thousands with no jobs, thousands considered non-essential, thousands uncertain of their future. So what's next? Okay, so everybody here, I'm sure you feared getting sick, right? Who here possibly, I don't know, I'm not going to say everybody, but who here got sick? Who actually got COVID? I did. I got COVID and I was fearing for my life, right? I feared for my life. Um, you've been called non-essential and you're grossly underpaid when you're essential. So what gives? What's going to happen? Right? Maybe you even got to the point where you started questioning if this path is worth it. And I don't only mean performing artists, I mean everybody in the creative industry, right? Is this still worth it? And I'm telling you right now, I understand. Today, I want to help. I want to provide clarity. I don't intend to outrightly say that, yeah, this is what you should be doing. Be an artist today, now, sign up now. That's not what I'm trying to say, right? But I want to tell you that despite these existential questions, look at me, I'm still here. I'm still podcasting. I'm creating content online. I'm still hosting online. And I'm giving talks online like this one. So why am I still here? Right? So let's start by breaking down what you really need to be able to tell a story, no matter what it is, right? In the case of theater, because that's my experience, you need a story, a space, and people. That's really all you need, right? It sounds simple, but of course it's not that simple. But let's dive into them one by one. Let's start with story. Yeah, stories are embedded in your DNA. Do you believe that? Do you think stories are embedded in your DNA? Do you think that you're a storyteller? Who here thinks they're storytellers? Raise your hand if you think you're a storyteller. I can see either somebody's raising their hand or it's just disappearing from the green screen. There you go. All right. So who here thinks that they are a storyteller? Okay, I have two people, I think, who raised their hands. Wonderful. Okay. See, stories are present in everything you touch. It is. On that laptop you're using, on that phone you're tapping, there's a story behind that, right? Everyone you've ever encountered, they have a story. Everyone you will encounter in life, they have a story. History, geography, science, technology, these are all basically founded on stories, right? So, okay, it is everywhere. Stories are forever, and culture needs stories. Stories will be around as long as human beings exist. Everything around us has a story, and these stories have changed the world. Like I said, history, geography, science, technology, that smartphone you're using right now, the earphones that you're probably wearing, the microphone you're speaking into, the microphone I'm speaking into, the green screen technology that is in your Zoom call, the Zoom call itself, these all have stories. Your school DLSZ, it came from another story, right? So institutions, human beings, individuals, these all have stories. And storytelling transcends time and culture. It connects us to the past and allows us to live in the present and envision a future via a bridge made of words, symbols, music, and movement. Those are stories. As my favorite author and modern thinker, his name is Yuval Noah Harari. I'll show you his book. It's come here. Yeah. You should really read this guy's books. This is called 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. This guy is like one of my favorite thinkers. And he said that humans think in stories rather than in facts, numbers, or equations. And the simpler the story, the better. We know, right, that Sir Isaac Newton discovered gravity. Who here knows what the formula for gravity is? Does anybody know? Anybody? Nobody, right? No, not everybody readily knows it. But what do you know about the discovery of gravity? That there was an apple that fell on his head. That is the story you remember, right? Because we think in stories. We remember better with stories because it taps into our emotions. We may not readily know the formula of gravity, but we know that story. We live on through stories, and this is how we've learned, adapted, got entertained, and enlightened over millennia. And at the same time, human beings cannot exist without stories. Stories have been with us since the beginning of time, since the first cave paintings, since the Egyptians, the Greeks who founded theater, the Romans. Human beings pass down knowledge and culture from generation to generation through stories. So, we are all storytellers. So I'll ask again, who here thinks they're storytellers? Raise your hand. The only prerequisite is you're a human being. Sometimes you don't even have to talk. You just have to draw. That's already a story. So yes, you are a storyteller, right? We are always hungry for a good story. Now, what changed over time is how we told stories, how we tell stories. How did it start? Right? How did it start? Who started storytelling anyway? Well, the earliest recorded stories that we can look at are the ones in history where there are cave paintings, right? Or stories by the campfire. Like a tribe somewhere in Africa. How do they pass on knowledge down? How do they pass down knowledge from generation to generation? They probably tell them stories by under the stars, around the campfire, right? They tell the story and then it becomes myth and then it becomes legend and stuff like that. That's how these stories are told. And then we move on again, cave paintings. Somebody actually wanted to leave a record of such stories. There's a cave somewhere in France that has cave paintings, right? To this day, we still don't exactly know what those paintings were. What did they? What I mean, we know what they look like, but we don't know exactly what they mean, right? And then ancient writings. You have Egyptians, right? Egyptians, and then we have the Code of Hammurabi, right? These are stories, but they recorded it, right? They recorded it by writing them down. An eye for an eye, right? An eye for an eye. Who wrote that down? Why did that have to be written down? Right? Because again, it was a comment. It was a comment on what was going on in their lives back then. And then the Greeks gave us theater. Theater was so powerful, right, that it tarnished the reputation of Socrates. There was this playwright, his name is Aristophanes, and he basically made fun of Socrates in one of his plays. And Socrates, he was totally cool with it, right? But because he was portrayed in such a bad way, Socrates, when he actually went on trial, people voted against him. They voted against him because of how he was painted in the theater, right? So theater also was a teaching tool for the masses, for the public in Greece. And then something crazy happens. The printing press. From handwriting books, from these monks who wrote books painstakingly in their monasteries, What? You can print it and distribute it? That's insane, right? So all of a sudden, stories are being told far and wide. And then the 20th century came, and then the radio happened, and then film, and then television. So not only were you able to tell stories far and wide, you can reach people in the convenience of their own homes with the television, right? So stories have a way of proliferating through these technological advancements. And then in the 21st century, we all know what's next: the internet, and eventually social media. Every tweet is a story. There is. A Twitter rant, is somebody basically being angry about something. Just today's political climate, you can already tell that there is a story. Everywhere you look, there's a story. So, from the latest TikTok trends to the latest Disney films, there is always a story. From the last meme that you saw to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there is a story. Right? Just think about your favorite stories and why do they resonate. By the way, I will say stories a lot in this talk, so you might as well get sick of it now. Like if I'm going to talk about theater, how did we translate the story of the American Revolution? Hamilton. There's a musical called Hamilton. That's the story of the American Revolution. The French Revolution. Les Miserables. The Vietnam War. Saigon. Even the news has stories, right? TV commercials, advertisements, these things have stories for the creatives here, right? Whoever made this EUNOIA, this EUNOIA visual that you all have behind you right now, right? That tells a story. If you're designing something like that, you're thinking, okay, so what kind of feeling do I want to give off? What kind of feeling should the person looking at this get, right? So yes, stories are everywhere and it's a part of our everyday lives. Stories are what makes us remember events no matter how big or small. Now, during the 20th century, technology itself evolved storytelling. Newspapers, film, radio, and television changed the game and exponentially increased the rate of spreading stories and spheres of influence. As a result, we can say things like, that's so Hollywood, or like, there's really nothing like Bollywood, or like, I love British humor, it's so dry, or I want to have Son Goku's powers. You know, you don't even have to visit those countries to know that their spheres of influence have influenced you. K-drama, right? The Korean Hallyu, the Korean wave. They don't have to leave Korea to go to you for you to understand it. It's available on Netflix. It's available everywhere. That is how stories are told these days. Now, the internet and social media and streaming services are making the world smaller by the minute. While it may be easier for countries with established cultural identities to spread influence, how about an emerging culture like ours, like the Philippines, right? And I say emerging because we are relatively younger in terms of independence as compared to other countries, right? So what will make other people say that, you know, it's proudly Filipino, it's truly Filipino? That's so Pinoy, you know? And outside of, you know, resilience TM, right? What makes that what makes our art, our entertainment, what makes our stories uniquely Filipino, right? And to borrow from Hamilton, which is one of my favorite musicals, who lives, who dies, and who tells your story? The answer to the what is culture itself. And the answer to the who is you, the person telling the story, the storyteller. So when I asked you a while ago if you are a storyteller and you hesitated to raise your hands because you're thinking about storytelling in the traditional sense, that I have to sit down around the campfire or be in a costume or pretend to be somebody or act, right? To be able to tell a story. And I'm here to tell you that you can tell a story in all of these different kinds of media that I just told you, right? So all humans are storytellers. The only difference is artists like us turned it into a profession. Look, I may not be an academic, but being attuned to stories and how they develop, it has allowed me to learn and to adapt, especially during the pandemic. Storytellers develop stories. Stories play a crucial role in culture building and imbues us with a sense of uniqueness, right? It's what makes us us. So, why do we continue to become artists despite what's going on in the world right now, right? I argue that we are needed now more than ever because we want to build and enrich Filipino culture for generations to come, no matter what adversities come our way. So that's it for stories. The second thing you need in theater is a space. And when I say spaces, I mean digital spaces, right? Before everything, before the whole pandemic business, I had to show up for work. I had to go there. I had to bring my water. I had to bring my baon and all that stuff. But now with the pandemic, we were shut down and all that. I had no space, physical space. So I looked online. And again, this was not an easy process to move everything online. And I tried almost everything. And when I say almost everything, I mean almost everything. There was one time I tried singing online, and then I shared a Kumu account with my fiance, and we would sing. We would sing together. And I also tried gaming, right? Providing commentary while playing video games. I did that while playing horror games, while playing action games, while playing. I did that. I've done virtual hosting. I'm still doing virtual hosting. I'm giving talks, doing it right now. And I invested in audio and video equipment, as you can see right now, just to improve the quality. I've also provided voice work for a bunch of radio and TV ads from home. As the times changed, the stage changed. As the stage changed, the weapons changed. Dati, script, score, kape, baon, okay na, pwede na. You can rehearse, right? Pamasahe, yeah, you're fine. Ngayon, you need a mic, a computer, a phone, lighting equipment, editing software, a camera. Now, I create content. Minsan kumakanta pa rin, minsan puro kalokohan, pero kadalasan, I do educational content. Now, when the curtains closed, I had nowhere to work. Digital was the only available option. So I took it and I tried my best, and I still am trying my best. Now, if I cannot do it in a physical space, I will find and create my own. Thankfully, there are a lot of avenues online. So yes, you can find your space to share your art. You can find your space. Start an Instagram account and show people what you design, right? You never know who's hiring. You never know who you might inspire, right? And finally, people, right? Sabi nila, it takes a village to mount a production. Yes, that has been said. And it's true, collaboration is one of the things I've always loved about my job, about theater. But when the pandemic hit, we couldn't work together anymore. Meron lang ako online audience. So, paano na? Diba? If it takes a village, then I will have to be that village. When we became streamers and content creators, that also means we became our own sound designer, lighting designer, editor, stage manager, writer, makeup artist, producer, agent, all of these things, accountant even, right? In a span of less than 2 years, well, now 2 years, nagkaroon kami ng crash course in all those different jobs. The silver lining is I gained respect for people who do those jobs. I gained even more respect, right? And especially with the work that the audience doesn't see. And somehow I wasn't alone. I had friends, talking to me like, I don't have a mic. What's a good mic? How do I use OBS? How do I use Zoom even? How do you do that to your Zoom with the green screen, without the green screen? And what do I do to get better sound? So in the absence of people, I had to become that person. And I'm sure you had to do that too. Right? I'm sure you had to do that too. And it is absolutely crazy to be able to do that and ask that much from students, right? A lot of students wanted to give up, and I know that. I know that because, like I said a while ago, I had an online audience, and most of the time, that's what they would say. They just didn't want to school anymore, right? They wanted to take a break. There are some instances that they wanted to take a break and they just wanted to enroll when, you know, classes were back face to face. And I could not blame them at all. So I said that there were three things that you needed, right? I said you need a story, you need people, you need spaces. But there's a fourth one. And there's something that you actually guys talked about. And I'm happy that you did. And this bit I actually wrote this morning. I wrote this part this morning because I cannot stress how important this is. The fourth thing that you need, well, instead of telling you, I'll just tell you a story. As somebody who has been doing this for years, I can tell you that artists are pretty quirky. We are. We're very, very, very quirky. Ecstatic one day and then a nervous slump the next day. We're itching to perform, yet we're anxious to audition. On cloud nine after a performance, yet questioning our skill once the performance is done or an audition doesn't go our way. Thank you for watching. Why am I doing this to myself? Why, God? Why? Why is this my line of work? For creatives, I have seen a lot of creatives do this too. They're very, very happy when their projects are signed, when their projects are accepted. But at the same time, the amount of revisions just make them go, why? I did what you said. What's wrong now? I can see you, some of you covering your mouths because you probably have experienced it, right? Like, I'm trying my best. This is my best, and I'm still learning. Why can't you? But then again, you keep all of that down, you suppress it, and then you go, okay, noted with thanks, right? And then you just do it. Because I'm sure it sounds familiar. Now, as a performer, our main goal is to bring a story to life. Imagine a car engine, right? Every part must function properly. It must fulfill its function so the car runs smoothly. When one part stops functioning, it compromises the whole engine. So that's what actors are to a production. As cast members, it is our duty to perform so that the storytelling goes well. We sing well, hit our marks, execute our moves, remember our acting notes, etc., etc., etc. Right? All fine, all well and dandy. But, and this goes for the creatives here as well, what if you constantly get notes? What if you can't seem to get it right? What if you can't seem to pick up the steps to a difficult piece of choreography? What if your design just doesn't get approved? What if it's in like draft, final draft 0401/2022, and then tomorrow you're gonna get an email, maybe we can change the colors, or maybe we can go back to draft 5 days ago, right? What if you've tried something over and over and over and over and over again, but something is just not going your way? The director doesn't agree with your acting choices. That's for an actor. What if I've auditioned a dozen times and I still can't get into a show? Right? What if you've tried to apply for a job, for example, when you eventually graduate? What if you try to apply for a job as a creative and you can't get a job anywhere? How many times do you have to apply to get a job somewhere, right? Now, let's look at the other side of the spectrum. Let's imagine that you've been able to join multiple productions, or you were able to join you're a hot shot in a huge advertising firm, right? You're like the number one go-to person when it comes to creatives, to design, right? You win a bunch of awards, you create a name for yourself, and you become a household name in the industry, right? Sounds great. It sounds amazing. But all I have to do is show you what happened between Will Smith and Chris Rock the other day, right? Because all these A-list actors probably don't. You can think for yourself. They have all the money and all the success. They probably don't experience tormenting questions, like the ones that I ask myself, like, what's this all for? What if I get rejected? What if I don't do my job well? What if I suck? What if I keep sucking? Right? If I may say so, actually, the more that you're up there, right, the harder the fall, as they say, right? That's what people say all the time. You've heard that so many times. Am I good enough? Am I cut out for this? Is this really for me? What will people say about my reputation? What if I fail and embarrass myself? Will I be able to live through that? And finally, to the last scenario, what if everything comes crashing down today? What if everything you've built is put into question, right? Everything you've built, like for myself as an actor, and all of a sudden it's put into question because there's a pandemic. As they say, you're only as good as your last performance. The last time I performed in front of a live audience was more than 2 years ago. Can I still do this? Right? That's the first question that's going to come into my mind. There are production companies that closed down when COVID 19 hit. There are people who put their performing careers on hold to shift to another industry out of necessity. Some turned to content creation, like myself, while others took a totally different route. And they were like, you know what? I'm done with acting. I'm just going to do something so that I can feed my family. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right? Were those years wasted? That's the question. After you fail, that's the question. Were those years wasted? All that effort rehearsing, taking extra classes, dragging yourself to an audition, to the next audition where you'll probably also not get it. Did it all go to waste? Huge questions. Same for creatives. If you keep applying somewhere and you don't, your design just doesn't get approved, and then they put it, you know what? Just have this other person do it because you can't seem to get it. You're at the verge of giving up. And then you start realizing, did it all go to waste? Relationships. Let's say that there's an abusive relationship that's going on right now. Right? There's an abusive relationship, but you don't want to admit that it's an abusive relationship. You don't want to let go. Even if somebody cheated on you, you don't want to let go. Why? Kasi sayang yung years namin together. All of that wasted time, all that wasted energy. The question is, was it really wasted? Did you really not learn anything from all of that? The greatest challenge every human being must face, even if you're not an artist, is to overcome yourself. Self mastery. Most of the time, our ego is what blocks the path. Thanks to this book, again, I have another book to show you. I'm not selling these, okay? I'm just telling you that these are good books to read. It's called Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. You should read it. It's awesome. It's widely available. It's in fully booked for only, I removed the price tag, but it's available in fully booked, and it is an amazing book. Thanks to that book, I gained some clarity over the pandemic. Ego is the Enemy, this book, teaches us that we have to be humble in our aspirations, gracious in our success, and resilient in our failures. What do I mean by that? This world has conditioned us to think that our individuality is everything. We have to get our own place by the time we graduate. You move out of your parents. That's a very Western thing, right? It's always a running joke. If you've ever watched The Big Bang Theory, the running joke for one of the characters, Howard Wolowitz, that he always lives with his mother. He's so old and he still lives with his mother, right? Why can't you live on your own? So it's individuality. We embrace that as a concept, i.e., we are special, we are unique, we are talented, we are the best, and we are going to change the world. Right? How many times have you heard that? I'm sure you've lost count by this point. In the NBA, everybody competes to become a champion, right? Everybody. That's all they want to do. They want to become a champion by the end of the season. But to many people, the MVP award, or the most valuable player award, is almost just as valuable. In the Oscars, okay, let me ask you this question. In the Oscars, who do you remember more? The producers of the movie that won Best Picture, or who won Best Actress and Best Actor? Who do you remember? I'm guessing it's the ones who won Best Actor and Actress, right? Yeah, I can see you guys nodding your heads. Who produced the movie that won in 2012, Argo? Who produced that? I don't know. I don't know. Right? Same goes for the Tony Awards for theater, right? The same thing goes. And you know what? There is nothing wrong about giving out awards for these things. For exemplary work. There's nothing wrong with that. If anything, I think it's a great and necessary idea. Right? It gives you some sort of validation that all your work is not going to waste. But things can start to go awry when the individuals don't necessarily know what to do with that success or how to translate that success into something. I argue that individual success must be a byproduct of less self-centered work. 13 years ago, I remember watching a TED Talk that saved me. Oh my God. Who here knows the book Eat, Pray, Love? Everybody here know the book Eat, Pray, Love? You've heard of it, excuse me, probably from your titos and titas because you're in high school and you're probably like, I don't know, in kindergarten when that book came out. But there is a book called Eat, Pray, Love. Right? There's a book called Eat, Pray, Love, and it was written by this wonderful author. She's a wonderful woman as well. Her name is Elizabeth Gilbert. You can actually look for this TED Talk right after this. She talked about the elusive creative genius. Beautiful talk. She says that we put too much pressure on ourselves to be creative. Who here has ever experienced a deadline, right? You have a deadline and you have to illustrate, right? You have to illustrate something, change the colors of something, and you're just dying to get inspiration. And when nothing hits, you just keep later when inspiration hits, like you probably taking like what 20 shots of coffee or something like that before inspiration hits. You probably watch something to turn your brain off and then you realize that it's been 10 hours and you haven't done a single thing. Right? Who here has experienced that? Creative block, right? You've experienced that. Everybody has experienced that. So this elusive creative genius, we put too much pressure on ourselves to be creative that we fail to show up and do the work. She says that trying to harness genius is like swallowing the sun. That is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Trying to force yourself to be creative, trying to do that is like forcing yourself to swallow the sun. In a profession that's fear-based, especially, performing arts, you see tortured artists, those who die early, suffer from alcoholism, depression, etc., etc. Elizabeth Gilbert offers us an alternative way to look at creativity. We rely too much on ourselves to do all the work. The genius energy comes to us not from within, but from the outside at the most random times. Genius here is not an adjective, it's a noun referring to a creative spirit. The genius, or genie, right? The genius comes to you at the most random times. It's your job to show up, but if the genius doesn't show up, fine. Show up for the day anyway. Do your work. She says it's our job to show up and do the work, and whether the genie comes or not, it's really not up to us. If it does, we might as well have a pen and paper ready. If it doesn't, keep working. So immediately that takes the pressure off. Right? Okay, so it's not all up to me. It can't be all about me. Ancient Greeks, ancient Romans thought of things like this. Socrates himself thought that he had a daemon that would inspire him with his ideas. Partly the reason why he was also sentenced to death, because they think he's bewitching all the young people in Athens, which he wasn't, right? In other words, the work we do, whether it be design or performing, it should not be about us. Remember, I told you from the top, I'm gonna talk to you as artists, we're gonna talk about artists, but this talk is not gonna be about you. Because this work should not be about you. We are special. We are unique. We are talented. We are the best. And that's why we do the work, not for ourselves, but for the rest of the world. We do it for others, not for us. We create musicals about the French Revolution or martial law as a reminder of the dark time, not to get famous. We write plays about Tokhang and the drug war to question the path of our humanity. Where is it going? And not to win an award. When we let go of this thing called ego, we can be more accepting of our failures. We can live with our mistakes. We can move on from a bad performance or a bad design. We can shake off a bad review. We can dust ourselves off for the next audition. And we sure as hell can survive a pandemic. So to you, storyteller, you're essential. You are. Say it to yourself right now. I want you to actually say it out loud to yourself. And I can see your faces, so I'll know if you say it or not. Say it to yourself right now. I am essential. Go ahead. Very good. You are. One more time. Say, I am essential. Yes, you are. Your story, your design might not change the world today. You know, it might not change the world in an instant, but it can enlighten someone. It can inspire someone. Your painting might not be hanging in the Louvre in 100 years or maybe even 200 years, but it can move a person to tears. Your lyrics and music might not make you millions, but it can lift the spirits of someone who desperately needs it. I encourage you to be comfortable with failure. Turn it into your ally. Let it guide you in refining your choices and your decisions. A lot of cycles happen in our lives because we are terrified of failure, including toxic relationships. A bad relationship will keep haunting us until we tell ourselves that we were wrong about our partner. All these bad things that are happening to you, and they seem to be happening over and over again, stop somewhere and reassess. Where am I? What am I not acknowledging? Because you yourself, that's why you can't sleep at night, because you're not acknowledging something. You want to be wrong about something. But sometimes that hunch is right. You will only be able to embrace your failure once you let go of your ego. And write this down if you have to. Ego kills creativity, progress, and personal growth. If you have too much ego, you're not teachable. You will not learn. You will not adapt. If you think you're too good for something, that's ego. If you think there's no way that you can be wrong, even if there's mounting evidence that proves otherwise, that's ego. If you think you're meant to be a failure and will eventually amount to nothing, guess what? That's ego too. To paraphrase this book, Ryan Holiday's book, we can overestimate our own importance. That's his definition of ego. We can overestimate our own importance, whether we are aspiring to do something, succeeding in life, or recently failed at something. And most of all, if you're going to take away something from this, aside from you being a storyteller all time, like at all times, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for being ignorant. I'm ignorant because it's impossible to know everything. You didn't know this information. I didn't know it at one point either. I had to earn and seek this knowledge. I'm still trying to understand it. And you know what? At the end of the day, this may not even be the complete answer, and I'm okay with that. But at least now I know that I can move forward if I forgive myself and let go of my ego. As Socrates once said, the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Because that's how you learn. An artist is always open. ever changing, ever learning, ever evolving. The time in which you're born also determines the kind of things that you'll write about, that you'll design for, that you'll act out, right? So it's impossible by that definition alone to compare yourself to other artists. You're unique. That's who you are. Remember that your work will never be finished in the grand scheme of things. It's impossible to finish. It's your job to pass it on to someone. Things will rarely ever go your way. Maybe about 90% would be failures. So you might as well befriend that 90%. Let it guide you. Be teachable, be malleable, think of something else. Get out of your own way. So, my friends, in closing, stories are forever. Storytellers are here to stay. All you need is a space and people. And remind yourself that you carry the power within you to change the world. And you can do it by getting out of your way and letting go of the idea that what you do is all about you. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing and surprisingly comforting. Indeed, everything has a story, and a lot of questions in our life to be answered that we tend to forget or ignore. Speaking of questions, I'm sure our participants and guests have questions right now. Now we'll be having the question and answer portion for Mr. Reb. If you have any questions, please use the raise hand button or ask it in the chat box.
Thank you, by the way, for inviting me to do this. It's always a pleasure. And also, if you want to hear more talks like this, I also actually included this also in my latest podcast. I have a podcast. If you like listening to podcasts, it looks like this. Hey, there, it's Boom Now You Know. I have a podcast on Spotify called Boom Now You Know. If you want to listen, I have 2 episodes out so far, and I'm still writing more. But also to DLSZ, thank you very much for approaching me to actually do this. It is a pleasure to be here. Now, if you have any questions, I am more than happy to answer them. And if I cannot answer your question, I am more than happy to tell you that I don't know. Okay, we have one. Is being a storyteller all about telling your own story or about the environment around you, or a combination of both? Christopher, thank you for the question. It is both. Uh, the thing is, I think everybody starts off being a storyteller by telling their own stories because, as they learn about the world, they're limited, right? Their viewpoint is limited. So when you tell a story, you usually take from your own experience, right? But later on, when you start realizing that there's a bigger world out there for you, well, once you graduate, you'll also understand that, and once you start paying taxes, you'll start understanding that too. There is a big world out there that deserves your skill, your storytelling, right? So it is about you. It is about the world around you, right? You can write about those things. You can talk about those things. Design for those things, right? And so yeah, it is because living life here on this. One of the things that I hate the most is when somebody is singing, and the first thing that somebody's gonna say, "Wow, feel na feel." Malamang, tao eh. Buhay eh. Right? I hate that idea that you have to shame somebody for feeling their song. Of course they feel their song because they have feelings. They're human beings, right? So I invite you to be attuned to your environment. I want you to feel what's going on around you, right? To have that empathy. I always say it, theater is an exercise in empathy. So yeah, it can be both, definitely, in more ways than one. Anybody else have a question? You can say it, by the way. Oh yes, we have Maria Francel.
My question for you is, what kind
Mhm.
of life advice would you give to your younger self if you were ever able to meet your younger self?
Take care of your skin. That's the first thing, right? Uh, the second thing would be, um, oh, this is gonna embrace the fact that you're a nerd. Don't try to be cool. because the farther away that I tried to be cool, the farther away I stayed. I mean, the farther I stayed away from being a nerd, from embracing that geek inside, the the more, I don't know, the more detached I became from reality. The more I tried to, and it's ironic because my living is I pretend to be someone, right? But the more I tried not doing the things that I liked, not spending time doing the things that I loved, that's when I started to realize, that I don't know who I am anymore. You know, that's when it happens. So yeah, that's what I'll tell myself. Embrace it. Embrace the fact that you love memorizing world capitals, kid. Embrace the fact that you love learning about World War II. Because those are the things that I geeked out over when I was a kid. And then later on, I experienced them in theater when I would do stories about them, right? So might as well embrace it. Having a relationship, it's when you're all younger, it's all about, how cool you are. But really, when you get older, it's about how true you are to yourself. So yes, that's what I would say to myself. Okay, I have a question here. What's a piece of advice that you have told us? Also, a piece of advice that you find yourself frequently going to. Oh, thank you for that. It's all about the ego thing. It's very difficult to let go of your ego, especially when you are so passionate about something. Like, I know the answer, right? I know the answer in your head. You're like so sure that you know the answer that you forget to listen. Where's this other person coming from? Right? It's always the question of, wait, you might be wrong. Right? And that's not self-doubt per se. No, that's not self-doubt. It's just more about um how will you be able to create something? How will you be able to collaborate with somebody if you're not willing to take on new ideas? That's not collaboration, that's a dictatorship, right? So yeah, that's an ego thing. It's a very difficult thing to do, to let go of that. Of course, I'm not saying don't tell everybody your ideas. You still share your ideas. You still say that this is this is the way we need it to go. And then somebody goes, but what if we try it this way? You know, I'm not saying I've done that before, like I step on people's ideas. Not Excuse me. I'm not saying, that. But what I mean is that idea of you can be wrong. Somebody might have a better idea. And that's okay. Yeah. It's that. And of course, self-doubt. It's all about self-doubt too. Navigating this planet with the kind of person you are, that's always going to be a difficult thing. And it's a struggle. It doesn't end after high school, it doesn't end after college. In fact, the problems just change, the questions change. But you have to remember to stay true to yourself. Yeah. I hope that answered your question. All right. Chelsea, what can you say about artists who are afraid to pursue arts because of what other people believe that artists will be unsuccessful? I have a story about this. Okay, so I'm kind of spoiling my podcast here, but um, who here has ever sung in public? Anybody here ever have you ever tried singing in public? Right? Nobody? That's fine. That's fine. You don't have to. Yeah, I have somebody here. Okay, great. That's Christopher. Okay, so Christopher has tried singing in public. Okay, so Christopher, I don't know. You can answer me, and Jane also. You can just answer me in the chat. Have you ever told anybody that you want to be a singer, like a parent or like okay? So nope. Okay. Have you ever told a parent your yes, you have, right? You have. Jane, let me ask you this. Are they supportive? That's what you want to be when you grow up? Yes, they are. That's wonderful. Have you told them, because most of the time, right? Like the question said a while ago, and I'm very happy for you. A lot of people experience this thing. I have a cousin who goes through this. He says that he wants to be an artist, right? And then of course the parents go, "Wag na diyan, walang pera sa arts. Walang pera diyan. Kakoy mo diyan. De-design ka ng kung ano-ano." Alam mo, even creatives. De-design ka ng kung ano-ano. Para sa ano? Exposure? Exposure lang. Kakainin mo ba exposure? You get that, right? And then the Christmas parties come along. And all of a sudden, "Ay, my son can sing! My son will sing for everyone. I hear all. Here na sige na." What? You're not, why are you shy? Huh? How can you expect to become an artist if you cannot even sing in front of your own relatives? That's sabotage, right? That attack that you feel is like, I thought you didn't want me to be an artist. Why are you now encouraging me for an afternoon? Right? So there's this huge disparity that, it's 5, 7, 6. They're already entering your song in the videoke machine while you're protesting, right? And then the intro comes along, and then you sing whatever, right? And then you sing another song, and so on and so forth. It happens every family gathering, and you're just left to wonder why. But that's so ironic. And here's what I say: it's also because people don't have a very good idea of what artists actually do. They think we're just playing, right? They think we're just playing. They think we're just having fun for the sake of having fun, putting on tights for the sake of, oh, he's a fairy. So what I can say about artists who are afraid to pursue arts is, well, what I did was I sat my mom down. I really told her right after graduation. I really told her, I think I have a shot. Can I ask you to trust me? And she did. And I'm grateful that I did. I'm grateful that I asked. I'm grateful that she said yes. So what I can say is, ask them to trust you. Ask them to give you a shot, just one shot, and then do something about it. Doesn't mean that you'll always be successful. It doesn't mean that you might end up successful, but at least you tried, right? And again, all of the ideas of an artist not succeeding, you don't know until you try. You'll never know until you try. For every person who says that you cannot be discovered on YouTube like Justin Bieber or MySpace like Adele, right? There's probably a 99% chance you won't. But what about that 1%? Call it idealistic, but if there are no ideals, then where are we going? Right? So yeah. Okay. I hope that answered your question. Okay. Chelsea. Oh no, that was Chelsea. Samantha Peralta. Hi, I cannot turn on my mic at the moment due to the loud background noise in my area, but my question is, what motivates you to do what you do? Is there a certain drive behind your passion? Thank you. What motivates me? I'll never forget it. We were opening Ang Huling El Bimbo, and we had worked on the show for about 6 weeks, right? We were about to open to our very first audience, and the director, we were rewriting the show even when we were already doing it. We came together for a company prayer. We were all holding hands, and the director said, "This is it, right? You're about to go on stage. We don't know how the audience is gonna react, but I do know one thing. Out of the 1,500 people who are outside right now, you might end up inspiring one. And sometimes that's enough." And he was right. That's what drives me. That, like I said a while ago, it's my job to pass this on to someone, right? So that's what drives me. That's what made me do educational content on TikTok anyway, because well, one, there's a lot of disinformation there, and number two, I want to be there so that people can realize that you can pass along knowledge, pass along skills, help them with the skills that you've cultivated in your lifetime. So yeah, that's what motivates me. I hope that answered your question. Helena. Okay. Hi po. My question relates to failure. Love it. Personally, I don't give up easily on things. I think the harder the work we put into something, the more it adds value to, or meaning to it. That's great. But what if we end up getting rejected and rejected and rejected, and you keep trying, but when is enough enough? A lesson for the future than before college. Thank you for this question, Helena. Look, the only reason why when is enough enough, that's really up to you. That's it. That's the only that's the answer to your question. But if you put we're like you said it yourself. It adds value with adversity, right? And you keep getting rejected and rejected. Again, 90% of my job is rejection. 90% of my job is no, try it again, do something else, right? But you're working for that 10%. Is it difficult? Yes. But if it were easy, would it really be worth doing? So that's it. That's my answer.
And now, um, we would like to present to you, Sir Reb, the certificate of appreciation to I'll say your name again, Mr. Reb Atadero for his inspirational talk, presented by De La Salle Santiago Sobel. To Mr. Reb Atadero for sharing his valuable experience and knowledge as a guest speaker in a webinar entitled UNOA on Online Art Festival. Given this first day of April 2022 during the EUNOIA Art Festival, which is presented through DLSC, Vermosa Campus, Imus City, Cavite via Zoom. And Sir Rep, seriously, like a massive thank you for like sharing your own story and even becoming part of our own. It's like seriously, like throughout your entire talk, it was like so inspiring.
Thank
Like
you.
I was
Thank
in
you.
awe. And
Thank you very much.
and it just made me realize that no matter how big or small the story is, like of whatever person or something, it has the potential to leave a lasting presence on us. Like I just enjoyed your energy and your willingness to share your like what goes on behind the scenes in your work. And I think that's all. Yeah, that's like my comment.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who took the time this afternoon to listen. I really appreciate it.
I 100% agree with Juanito. As I said before, it was an amazing talk, and I really am comfortable now to call myself an artist and a natural storyteller without even realizing it through our art. And even if times are tough right now, we can still go on and tell our stories in other different ways. I was really touched by how much we can relate to you and how you gave us tips on what we can do to even continue as artists and storytellers. To try not to give up even if you fail 100 or 1,000 times. Truly remarkable, touching, and inspirational. And I hope everyone here can learn a tip or two from Sir Reb, and that all of us can grow from this as artists to create for others. Now, Juanita, don't you think it's time for a little bit of groove?
I do think it's time to enjoy an international number. Coming on stage is our very own Franco Lumbad to perform. Let's hear some noise for him as he performs Why Should I Worry by John Michael Howell. Woo!
Why should I worry? For I know where my help comes from. Why should I worry? For I know where my help comes from. Why should I worry? For I know where my help comes from. The maker of heaven and earth. I said, why should I worry? For I know where my help comes from. Yeah, my protector, defender, he's holding my heart. God, my lover and savior, you're never far. And I'm accepted, protected, here in your love. There's nothing to fear now. There's nothing to fear now, yeah. Oh, why should I worry? For I know where my help comes from. Oh, why should I worry? For I know where my help comes from. And you go to prepare a place for me. I said, why should I worry? For I know where my help comes from. He won't allow my foot to slip. Why should I worry? For I know where my help comes from. Yeah. My protector, defender, he's holding my heart. God, my lover and savior, you're never far. And I'm accepted, protected, here in your love. There's nothing to fear now. 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 Yeah. Why should I worry? For I know where my help comes from. I said, why should I worry? For I know where my help comes from. Why should I worry? For I know where my help comes from.
Big thanks to Franco for that wonderful performance. Now, it's time to get back to EUNOIA.
Here is Miguel Lorenzo Marañon, the Capstone Internal Director, to present Silakbo, a virtual art exhibition for the arts and design students and teachers of De La Salle Santiago Isabel Vermosa. Take it away, Milo!
So Silakbo started out as a research paper about the best practices in mounting an online exhibit. And eventually it turned into an exhibit wherein me and my group made art based on what we consider to be the best practices when creating online art programs. Me and my group mates came up with many different answers to what we think are the best practices, but honestly, it's just better to browse through the exhibit yourself. So here's a teaser for it.
Once again, it's time for Miguel Lorenzo Marañon, the Capstone Internal Director of Silakbo. Please answer these questions. First question: what do you want the audience to know or take from your capstone project?
Okay, what do I want to know? So, like I said earlier, there are a lot of when coming with the answers to the question like what were the best practices, our group mates they came up with like a lot of different answers. Some I don't like entirely agree with, but I'm only saying it now. And then like some make more sense to me. So what I want the audience to like get from the exhibit is just how many different like ways you can answer the question you first asked.
Yeah, okay, everyone has their own answer, and pretty understandable. Like, you can give a lot of perspective on a particular topic. All right, for the second question, in what aspects does your group want to improve on if ever you'll be creating another exhibit?
Okay, that's just so the first thing that I think that could really be improved upon is I think we'd like look for a better site to display artworks on, because art steps I think is kind of limited in what we can do. Like I was telling Juliana, like, why don't we just use Minecraft? Which is like, no, we can't, because we can't put like our artworks in Minecraft. So like next time, we somehow have access to some guy who can code images into Minecraft, I feel like that would be just way better than art steps because it took like a lot of time to actually figure out how the thing worked. Second, I think like we just need to be more effective. But already making one exhibit, actually this is the second time we've used art steps. I feel like we have more experience and like have learned from these past experiences.
Pretty nice. I do agree that I think the more you use something, then it'll become better. Like I think your art steps exhibit still retains that quality. And for the last question, was there anything you enjoyed during the creation process of your project?
Was there anything I enjoyed? I mean, I think I had like a really good group actually. Like all of them were, or most of them were helpful, sure. Like, but I think I think in general everybody contributed to what we were able, contributed to like the exhibit as a whole. I think the most fun part for me really was like making the artworks that are going to be displayed. Like, I kind of just want to self plug myself, but the video that I put on the exhibit, I think is probably one of the more experimental things I've done. So, but like, you should really check out the art exhibit. Also for my other group mates too. I know Ali and Juliana actually have really good artworks there too. So it's definitely worth checking out.
Thank you again, Milo. Are you guys ready for more? Well, here is Samantha Sikay from the Museum Department to present Catharsis, an online art exhibition on mental health. Take it away, Lorraine!
Good afternoon. Thank you for introducing us. Our group Catharsis is an online art exhibit that focuses on mental health during the pandemic. In our exhibit, we display the wonderful and talented works by the participants from the Creative Hearts webinar. To find out more about our exhibit and artworks, let us all watch this teaser.
Once again, we'll be going back to a Q&A of asking one of the members from Catharsis. Now, for Francel Butor from the Marketing Department of Catharsis, please answer the following questions. Hi, Franz.
Hi, Juanito.
Okay. Alright, you ready?
Yep.
Alright, let's get down. So, for the first question, what is the main goal of your capstone project?
So, our capstone project, Catharsis, is an online art exhibit depicting mental health issues using artworks. Since it's catharsis, the meaning is releasing strong negative emotions. We hope that this type of event can open up more opportunities for students to express themselves, especially in a creative, artistic way.
Okay. Sounds pretty cool. I hope you'll be able to achieve that. And for the next question, what are your realizations in the process of completing the artworks of Catharsis?
During the process of completing the artworks in Catharsis, I realized that it's not just one way of making an artwork. There's multiple ways of making artworks. Even if you're not really good at creating art, there's still a way that you can express your own feelings and emotions into a piece of artwork that screams you.
I agree that there's nothing better than making art that just expresses yourself as a whole. Alright, for the final question, what are your inspirations in designing your online museum?
The inspirations in designing our online museum was basically any contemporary or modern museum that we see nowadays. In our research, we were able to see many types of online art museums, and we took inspiration from those and input it into the Art Steps exhibit.
I do agree that right now contemporary art, it's like it can be anything, and it's pretty cool how you're basing it off from other exhibits. So, Ransel, thank you very much for answering these questions.
Thank you again, Mari. And as part of the capstone projects, we hope you will be able to visit our online exhibits on Art Steps through the link we'll be sharing in the chat and on this Facebook and YouTube live stream. Please enter the link.
Now that we have launched our online exhibit, we have another intermission number coming from the Zobel dance crew.
Yeah, tell me what your secret. 숨길 수 없을 만큼 넌 예뻐. 더 말해 뭐해 girl. 넌 a fairy tale song. 나만 살고 싶은 이 기적. 이 내 맘 너를 나는 지각감. 내가 알던 세상은 진짜가 아닌 fake. 널 기다려왔어 think about it all, it all, it all. Make me fly high. You're my only Bambi Bambi. 너와 떠올리는 밤이 내려와 Bambi Bambi. 우릴 더 촉촉하게 적셔 이 밤이 새도록 Bambi Bam, Bambi Bambi Bambi. Bambi Bam, Bambi Bambi Bambi. You're so precious I can't take it. You are dreamy Bambi Bambi, yeah. Over and over 이 맘 말로는 다 못해. 눈부심에 get me closer. There's no way out it. Story는 이제 시작해 맘 never lie. Bambi Bambi. 하나의 빛이 물든 밤이 넌 나의 Bambi Bambi. 1분 1초조차도 아까운 단두만의 밤 Bambi Bam, Bambi Bambi Bambi. Bambi Bam, Bambi Bambi Bambi. You're so precious I can't take it. You are dreamy Bambi Bambi, yeah.
As expected from the Zobel dance crew, truly an astounding performance. Like, not gonna lie, I still want to watch more, but we'll have to move on. Now, as we all know, EUNOIA is also a fundraising program with the goal to raise money in order to support the art students as the beneficiary to the chosen foundation, One LaSalle Scholarship.
One LaSalle Philippines is a network of LaSallians within the Lasallian East Asia District, established to facilitate collaboration in the Lasallian mission and the promotion of the spirit of faith, zeal for service, and communion in mission that, together, are at the heart of the journey of our founder, St. John Baptist de La Salle. Here is Jane Empleo, writer of the Creative Hearts, to award the certificates to the participants of the Creative Hearts webinar.
We would like to send our deepest gratitude to all students who participated from Ravens, awarding this certificate of participation for their outstanding contribution and being the overall creative participants of the Creative Hearts Art webinar, helping us all during a trying time. These certificates are awarded to the following people: Precious Ana Nicole Abella, Rachel Salva de Leon, Clyden Soter Defensor, Micaela Cristel Bajar Esta, Hazel May Salmarin Fresnido, Paula Lorraine Bahinting Garcia, Christopher Salamanes Malayao, Jana Escabusa Pale, John Carpolintan, Keith Chantal Sapida San Jose, Jillian Reyes Santos, Arabella Cuntapay Tagilaso, and Julian Santos Villapanto. Given this first day of April 2022 during the EUNOIA Art Festival presented through the La Salle Santiago Isabel School, Hermosa's Campus in Musiki, Cavite via Zoom. Your commitment, participation, and outstanding efforts undoubtedly have made a difference and helped us achieve our capstone project. Again, on behalf of Creative Hearts, we thank you for being part of our wedding.
Thank you, Jane, and thank you to the Bravens participants. And now we would like to invite Aliana Manuel, 12L's class president, for the closing remarks.
Hi everyone. Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you who are present today for taking the time out of your busy schedule to really join and support us in our project. Most especially to Sir Yab, Sir Josh, and our wonderful participants. To my classmates, we're finally here. Though the planning of this project required a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to be shed, I'm super proud of each and every one of you for exerting your 100% best effort in making this event a success. It was definitely a big challenge for us to conquer, and I'm super happy that we have reached the end successfully. We would also like to extend the deepest gratitude to Sir Marlon Fernandez for guiding us throughout the whole planning process and even during the event proper. We couldn't have done this without you, sir. Moreover, we hope that you guys really learned a lot from EUNOIA and that you may be able to apply it throughout your daily lives, especially with regards to the aspect of mental health. For we students are firm believers of our goals and advocacies, which is to find a healthy way to seek improvements for one's mental health with the use of art. Once again, thank you so much everyone for attending, and we hope you have a pleasant day ahead.
Thank you so much for that, Aliana. Now that our program is coming to an end, but before we conclude this program, we'd like to have your feedback regarding the event by answering these Google Forms, which will be pasted as a link in the chat box. Your participants answer the feedback. I'd like to thank our sponsors since they helped us reach our goal of 20,500 pesos. So, thank you to Philippine Pediatric Society Southern Tagalog Chapter, Terra Medica Floator Technology Corporation, Teodoro Construction Corporation, Mecair Systems Corporation, Holly's Milk, Rostans, Mechanical Unlimited Resources and Trading Corporation. Thank you also to Ms. Jo Polo and the Admission Office for their assistance in managing the funds collected for One LaSalle. We would also like to thank the High School SRCC for partnering us for the event. Lastly, we would like to thank the other working committees for making this event possible. Thank you also to Mr. Reb Atilaro and to all who have contributed to the success of this event, as well as to all who are present here today.
This has been an inspirational, fun journey for all of us here in EUNOIA. Truly, we have learned a lot from this, and I hope a lot of you enjoyed your time here as well. To formally wrap up this program, we would like to call Chelsea Tapasha for our closing prayer.
Let us all remember that we are in the most holy presence of God, in the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, as we come to the end of our program, we thank you for what has been accomplished today and for the success of today's events. May the matters discussed serve as a catalyst to move us forward and cause us to advance and see growth in all areas of our lives. Our Lasallian prayer. I will continue, O my God, to do all my actions for the love of you. Saint John Baptist de La Salle, pray for us. Live in our hearts forever.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. And that concludes EUNOIA, an online art festival. On behalf of Grade 12L, we extend our deepest gratitude to all of you who took the time by watching and becoming part of this event. It's been our pleasure to host this program, and
we wish you all a pleasant
day.